Donald Trump. Wale Olutade advances reasons for describing Donald Trump as the most disastrous American president ever. The United States Congress finally did what was long anticipated, by a vote of 230 to 197 and 229 to 198, strictly along party lines. It impeached the 45th U.S. President Donald J. Trump on the 2 articles of impeachment, leveled by the U.S. Judiciary Committee, becoming only the third to be so accorded the dubious distinction. The others in the Hall of Infamy being the 17th and 42nd Presidents, Andrew Johnson and William J. Clinton, the 37th U.S. President, Richard M. Nixon, resigned before he was impeached by Congress. Once it became certain his impeachment and eventual conviction or removal from office by the Senate was a foregone conclusion. That was then, and this is now. The 2 articles of impeachment are, abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. What were Trump's alleged impeachable offenses? That he propositioned a foreign nation, Ukraine, and previously China, Russia, etc., to meddle in U.S. elections. That he attempted to shake down Ukraine, a nation engaged in a bloody conflict with its Russian neighbors, by conditioning congressionally approved military aid of $400 million to the Ukraine president's announcement of a false investigation into former VP Joe Biden, Trump's leading presidential challenger in the 2020 U.S. elections. Now, I am not a fan of Donald Trump. Scratch that, please. In fact, to be quite candid, I think I dislike the man comprehensively. And believe me when I say I am being extremely diplomatic with my words. So why is this impeachment important? After all, as it is almost certain that he will be acquitted at the Senate trials, meaning he will remain in office to continue in his barbaric ways and perhaps win re-election next November. There are many reasons, but I'll give just 4 in this piece. I know the story of his disastrous presidency is a tale of many moving parts, so this piece is one in several to come in the months and years ahead. Be fair, no U.S. president is perfect, as none of us human beings can be. Barack Obama was woeful in his foreign policy, and George W. Bush concocted lies to invade Iraq, wasting a generation in that needless war. But Donald Trump is in a class and category way beyond the pale. First, a threat to the world order post-WW11. The New World Order post-World War XI, initiated by the victorious Allied powers, US, Britain, France. To the intent that never again will any nations rise up and become a threat to the peace, stability and security of the rest of the world. This was necessitated by the expansionist activities of Nazi Germany, which perpetrated unspeakable atrocities during the just-ended war, 1939 to 1945, claiming almost 30 million lives at its end. Of course, while Hitler's Germany was terrorizing Europe, Imperial Japanese military, having effectively devastated its neighbors, mainly China, proceeded to bomb Pearl Harbor in Honolulu, Hawaii in an unprovoked and what eventually became a historic turning point in the war, but critically, forever shaped and changed world geopolitics. This bombing of Pearl Harbor was the strategic incident that drew America into the Second World War raging in Europe and the atrocities of Imperial Japan against its neighbors. Rest, as they say, is history. Suffice to say, having defeated Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan, Axis powers, together with Italy, the Allied powers created global organizations, the United Nations, NATO, IMF, World Bank, IBRD, etc., to enforce and maintain peace, foster cultural and trade cooperation, share intelligence, all in a bid to avoid a repeat of the colossal human carnage and humongous destruction to global order of WW2. From the end of the war in 1945, you knew where America stood on any issue that involves democracy, rule of law, human rights abuses and communist or totalitarian regimes and the repressions and abuses attendant thereto. All of these are no more. While China is transactional in its foreign policies, America is more ideological. America is a nation founded on certain immortal values. America's democracy is enshrined in the belief that the rule of law is sacrosanct, that human dignity and life are inviolable. that all men are created equal and possess certain inalienable rights, and these are protected by their supreme law, the U.S. Constitution. That all men are welcome to America, and are free and safe to aspire to their highest dreams and aspirations. That none shall be discriminated against on the basis of race, ethnicity, religion, gender, or politics. Above all, that no one is above the law. But what has Donald Trump done since he became president? America has become more isolated from the same global institutions it helped found to promote democracy and safeguard peace and security in the world. He is shredding these bodies and making them a feat to the great delight and applause of Russia, China, Turkey and other putative totalitarian regimes. The single biggest enabler of human rights abuses and global insecurity is Donald Trump. His deleterious transactional approach to U.S. foreign policy is best captured by the sale of $100 billion worth of weapons to the Saudi Arabian regime, regardless of its Stone Age barbarism with citizens' beheadings, amputations, etc., exemplified poignantly in the atrocious butchering of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Worst of all, Trump, for personal spite and ingrained inferiority complex, has tried to undo everything his predecessor did, pulled America out of the Iran nuclear deal, 2015, the Paris Climate Accord, 2016, and a host of others. As it is today, and in a great irony of history, many dictators and tyrants can safely look to the U.S. president, and feel comfortable to trample on democratic institutions, muzzle the press, kill, maim, arrest and harass journalists, while they lounge on their nice sofas, picking their teeth and saying, "It's happening in America, what's the big deal?" Second, his dangerous demagoguery, misogyny, bigotry and racism. Here is a 73-year-old who has the temperament of grade schooler. Crude, coarse and caustic, he has debased and debauched the U.S. presidency in ways millions undiscerning and especially his rabid political base and gullible Twitter fans can't fathom. He is a thoroughgoing racist. Apologies, Chinua Achebe. He has tagged Africans as, well, idiots, and our country's shitholes. Mexicans, and other Latino communities are in his warped opinion crooks, criminals and rapists. Even in American Mexican judges isn't spared. He lies at faster than the speed of light. I think he must make Satan, who Jesus tagged the father of lies, green with envy. In fact, one of his countless lies was voted Lie of the Year by CNN. Senator Bernie Sanders calls him a pathological liar. He pays off prostitutes to silence them. He mocks physically challenged Americans. He mocks women by their menstrual circle. He attacks and abuses House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, his eternal political nemesis. Her teeth is falling off, she's having a nervous breakdown. He addresses senators and congressmen with pejoratives even school bullies will find grotesque. U.S. House's Intelligence Committee Chair Adam Schiff is shifty. Senator Ted Cruz is lying Ted. Senator Marco Rubio is Little Marco. His favorite target, Hillary Clinton, is Crooked Hillary. As I type this, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, D., Michigan, whose husband was the longest-serving U.S. congressman and who died of cancer, is being attacked, mocked and ridiculed by Donald Trump at a Michigan rally even as the impeachment process is ongoing. Now, for gullible Africans and especially Nigerians who believe Donald Trump is a Christian, and is fighting the cause of Christianity, I say, which of the attributes of Donald Trump will Christ approve of? Beside the searing stupidity and rank ignorance exhibited by a people who believe any silly lie and ridiculous heresy, is it a Christian attribute to separate children from their mothers at U.S. borders and lock them up in cages like animals, and some have died? Christ's teaching is encapsulated in this central theme: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So, America, hitherto a nation of immigrants, including Trump's grandparents, but now under him, immigrants are criminals to be hounded and deported. Third, a threat to democratic ethos. Now, please remember, we are here talking about a U.S. president. Not in the Stone Age but right now. A sitting U.S. president of the world's greatest democracy, but a friend and collaborator with prominent dictators and tyrants, Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Rodrigo Duterte, Jair Bolsonaro, Viktor Orban, and so forth. He believes and trusts Putin's words and the combined submissions of the entire U.S. intelligence apparatus findings that Russia was behind the interference in 2016 U.S. elections instead of consistently promoting the false narrative that it was Ukraine as propagated by Putin. America, the world's chief promoter and defender of democratic ethos and values, is now led by a man who labels the U.S. Congress an enemy of the people, and they hate our country. Donald Trump came up with and made infamous the words fake news, a pejorative description for mainstream media organizations CNN, NYT, WSJ, WP, etc., who criticize his policies and actions. If Trump had his way, he would rather America were a monarchy with him as absolute potentate, but U.S. District Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson put it profoundly yet succinctly that, simply stated, the primary takeaway from the past 250 years of recorded American history is that presidents are not kings. This means that they do not have subjects, bound by loyalty or blood, whose destiny they are entitled to control. Rather, in this land of liberty, it is indisputable that current and former employees of the White House work for the people of the United States, and that they take their oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Fourth, a threat to leadership principles. I shudder at the kind of leadership this man exemplifies. As one who teaches leadership principles to business persons and government employees, I fear what odious lessons his many acts of misgovernance, misconduct and reckless abuse of power is impacting on aspiring leaders, students and children the world over. He is one of the most divisive political leaders ever in modern history. He is utterly immoral. He is vain, narcissistic and intemperate. He lacks compassion and empathy, a basic quality of great leaders. He is cruel and callous. He is as crude and vulgar as I have seen with gangsters, motor park touts and street urchins. He uses obscene words and gestures effortlessly, mostly in the presence of foreign dignitaries. For Donald Trump, it is all about the deal. So, F***K values or principles. The idea that his economic policies have created a great boom to the U.S. economy, without ascribing credit to the great work Barack Obama did, and so must be given a pass on all his governance and leadership atrocities, is akin to a Robin Hood principle. Now, whether he is removed from office by the U.S. Senate isn't my problem. I am satisfied that America has demonstrated to the rest of the world that democracy can work when states' institutions are independent and virile. Also, that in a democracy, the rule of law is supreme and no one, not even the president, is above the law. I am satisfied. And as U.S. Congressman Ted Lieu, D., California said during the impeachment voting, whether Donald Trump is removed in 1 month, 1 year or 5 years, this impeachment will follow him forever. And it will serve as deterrence to others after him. *Olutade can be reached at @Wale Olutade. Share this, let's block ads. Why?